Hi, I'm Karena Walter, and welcome to the Standard Newsroom. I'm here with St. Catharines Mayor Walter Sendzik for our monthly chat with the mayor. Welcome.
Great to be back, as always.
I hear that you got your golden ceremonial ribbon-cutting scissors back.
Yes, after a period of disappearance, they have turned up safe and sound. And I would just like to thank CrossFit, who is the company of which I apparently forgot to bring the scissors away from. So I remember that opening well. I was doing some cross training and trying to get myself back in some shape, and clearly I forgot to take out the big scissors as I was leaving. So they've been recovered, which was very helpful. A lot more ribbons to cut.
How many ribbons do you think you cut in about a month? Because I think a lot of people would be surprised that you have your own scissors for this. I remember seeing Mayor McMullen walking down James Street once, just carrying the scissors loosely. He wasn't running; he was just walking with them.
It fluctuates, but there's. We looked at last year. There was over 70 businesses or organizations that opened their doors, and so we brought the scissors. So over 70 in a year, and that just points to the strength of the economy. And a lot of them, majority of them, are just new businesses opening in the community. And so it's a highlight for me because with my business, I come from a business background, like entrepreneur in my previous career. So being able to engage with business folks like that and celebrate their openings of their business is pretty special. So I'm glad I got those scissors back.
Well, I wanted to ask you about some of the activity that's happening this morning up in Port Dalhousie. You have city crews that were out there putting up fencing, and this is because of the water levels. What's the situation that we're seeing right now?
So it's at a 50-year high. So for those who may not have been following along on social media or through the newspaper, the Great Lakes are at a 50-year height in terms of high of water level. I was out there yesterday taking a look at the piers, and even from afar you can see how much water is over the piers. And now it's based on the water rising, it's moving further inland and towards Lakeside Park and towards the marina, the yacht club. So it's created a unsafe condition for a lot of folks, and so we've put up some additional barriers to allow the water to do what it's doing and not put people in jeopardy. But it's concerning, Karina. Like, this is, we talk about 100-year storms, 50-year storms, and we're seeing in more frequency a higher rate of large storm incidences, a higher rate of wind velocity. The weather that we had this week went up to almost 30 degrees with the humidex in one day, and the next day it drops down. These are the signs of climate change. And again, this is a sign for the Great Lakes. And so the reason why I'm talking about this is because the piers are under construction, are going to be under reconstruction the next little while once we get everything ironed out with the federal government. But we can't just reinstate the piers to the way they are today. We have to look at what is the water levels, what impact will they have on future piers? Do we have to build the piers a little higher to allow for that water that could continue to rise the way it is on a more frequent basis? So these are a lot of the questions that we're going to have to ask, and this is why on Monday at Council we had a presentation on about the Compact of Mayors, of which I'm a part of, and the city's a part of, and it's about climate change. It's about addressing climate change, not just as a city unto itself, but in the world. So the Compact of Mayors is a global organization, and we're all working together, but we got to play our part. But it's a big issue, and this incident at Lakeside Park and the piers shows how much impact it can have on communities.
Are there chain link fences out there right now? We're not sandbagging shorelines at this point?
Well, it looks like they'll be potentially sandbagging the yacht club on starting today, because the water is getting higher and higher. So there is certain parts of the pier in which we have a going operation, such as the yacht club. So they're concerned, and rightfully so. So yeah, these are the conditions that we're working in today, and we've got to find the solutions and be mindful of the fact that this is happening in our community. So if you want to see an example of climate change, folks, go down to Port Dalhousie and just take a look at the height. I think a lot of people will be surprised by how high the water is rising.
The Federal Fisheries and Oceans were supposed to be coming up with their design plans by the end of this month. Have you seen those yet, or have you heard from them?
It's a lot of questions have been asked in that way, and I know that our staff have been working with their team, and they have committed to the engineered drawings coming in with the design option that everyone has chosen, which is the reinstatement to of the piers. So we're anticipating that that'll be coming in shortly, and from there coming to council and also working with MP Chris Biddle to make sure that the timeline is the next phase of this development is. What is it going to take to get the piers back to where we think they should be, and give us a timeline, and let's look where the funding is going to come from, and who's going to do the work. So there's a couple key questions that have to be answered, but I'm confident we're heading into May, I'm confident by the end of May, early June, we should have a much clearer picture of when those piers will be open.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about last night, the regional council meeting. They decided to keep the integrity commissioner. You're laughing. Keep the integrity commissioner. They're actually going to bring him back. You're going to bring him back to council at the next meeting in May. Did it go the way you were hoping?
Well, there's a couple of areas of concern. Obviously, I'm as I've stated previously, I'm disappointed with this entire process. Disappointed that it's taken us long to get to this place where actually we can have the results of the integrity commissioner's reports. Disappointed in how there's been politics that have played into this, and it's politics on both sides, and it's frustrating because it's not an atmosphere that a lot of us want to be in. We just want to go there and do the work of the region, and public health, social services, housing. We want to make sure that the heavy lifting is being done, and it's being overshadowed by a lot of these code of conduct complaints. And I always say if everyone can just act like adults around that council chamber table, we wouldn't be having these code of conduct complaints. And unfortunately, there's a couple folks who choose to act in a non-productive way, and we are where we are today. So where we discussed last night is that there is no halt on the integrity commissioner's reports. There was discussion in the media and in the minutes in the corporate services committee meeting that they were going to halt the integrity commission reports moving forward. That's not taking place. Yep, that's not taking place. The chair reaffirmed that and said that is not, that they are continuing to move forward. In terms of the charter challenge, which I think is ridiculous, it's absolutely ridiculous, and I've said that publicly. I'll say it again. That is. You look at that, and it's another example of politics at its worst, and you just shake your head and go, it's just too bad we just can't grow up. But when you look at that issue, whoever will do that is going to do that. But it's coming back. The report's coming back in the next cycle of council, which will be in May. And I would like us to have a special meeting on it. Like if I was in the chair's position, I would call a special meeting just on the integrity commissioner complaints, put them all on the table, have the public, whoever wants to talk to it, and then move on. Because Karena, a lot of these are simply going to be, if anyone is found, to have violated the code, largely it's going to be a sorry I did that, and what is the repercussion? And we have limited tools on repercussions. So sometimes it's easy just to say sorry, like sorry for my actions to another councillor or whatever. But it's probably the most disappointing for me as a new elected official, someone new to the political theater. It's probably the most disappointing that I've felt, because we're focusing in on these things, and a lot of people like to make issues out of them and turn them into big issues on social media, and they are in terms of the actions of certain councillors and what they've done, but we've taken far too long to deal with it, and in doing so, we've neglected other parts of our job as regional councillors. So I hope that the next meeting, I would like to see a special meeting. So my request last night, and we were talking to councillors, is let's have a special meeting. That remains to be seen whether they're going to do that or not. But we just got to get through it, and then I hope that whoever is going to be at fault finds the error in their ways, and everyone can just move on, because it's getting beyond the absurd up there.
When you're talking about beyond the absurd, and you said that it's an atmosphere that a lot of people don't want to be in, I mean, is there really any hope for this council at this point, or is that hope in the next election?
No, and don't get me wrong. my frustration has been a lot of great work being done. Right. If you look at the GE, getting the GE factory opening, coming to Welland, which is in construction, the GO announcement, intermunicipal transit, councils have tried for years to get that, and we finally got the triple majority. When you look at housing, even from a housing perspective, we're putting more people in homes. We're getting more housing built in our community, and there's a lot of great work being done. It's just being overshadowed by the actions of a few councillors who can't act like mature people and sit around a table and have mature debates. And that's the essence of the frustration. If you take one or two people out of council, the actual meetings are very professional. But unfortunately, whoever decided to elect the people that are up there, those one or two people are disruptive, and that disruption is what really hurts the rest of council, because there's a lot of bright people that sit around that council, and I'm proud of the fact that I sit around that council and the work that we've achieved. But it's frustrating when it gets overshadowed by the actions of a few individuals. So that's where we're caught. I hope this cloud that hangs over the council, I hope that's dealt with the Integrity Commissioner reports, and then there's a bit of a cleaning of the slate, and then the public can start to see the good work that's being done.
Last night too, when all this Integrity Commissioner stuff was happening right at the beginning of the meeting, 11 of the councillors voted not to accept the agenda because the Integrity Commissioner wasn't on it. You didn't vote that way, and I'm wondering why.
Yeah, that's misinformation. So it wasn't because the Integrity Commissioner reports weren't on there. It was the politics again. So you got the other side that's playing politics with the agenda. So there's parts of the agenda that we needed to deal with last night, and the Integrity Commissioner reports were never slated to be on this council agenda. There's a lot of confusion. You got certain councillors who were privy to information in February, of which a lot of other councillors weren't privy to, so I don't know how they got their information. They're claiming that the report should have been on in end of February and then end of March. I've never seen the report, so I don't know, why councillors are saying it should be on this agenda or that agenda. It was never slated for this one. It was being dealt with in corporate services. So, the ones who voted against the agenda, even after a rigorous discussion about the Integrity Commissioner and the minutes of the corporate services and a last-minute piece of correspondence that came on, which we got added to the agenda so we could discuss it, there are those who are still playing politics. And so the frustration, and I'll leave it at this, is that you've got these two camps, and one camp votes the same way on a ton of stuff, and that's Mayor Augustine and his group vote on a ton of stuff en bloc. Then you got the other side that vote en bloc on stuff, and then there's folks like myself, and I'll say, I'm not going to. There's a lot of folks in the middle now who are just sitting there going, just act like adults. Just make decisions based on the principles of which you were elected, is to represent the people that you serve, not based on some political party that you're a part of, or not some kind of ideological bent that as a group you believe in. Make the decisions that's in the best interest. And I believe that there's a majority of folks that are around that table that can do that. But the agenda debate was political. The Integrity Commissioner putting it off as political. And at a certain time, people like myself who are more pragmatic, we look at it and go, this is not how government should run. So it's unfortunate. And I guess my frustration is I'm tired of watching the politics, because I'm not playing the politics. I'm tired of watching it unfold, whether it's one side versus the other side, and one side puts its arms up and goes, look at us, we're doing great things over here because we're trying to stop you, and then their side is saying, we're trying to stop you. Really? Just get your job done.
Isn't voting on block, though, a way to show that you're displeased with something?
Not when it's the same people all over again. It'd be different if there was. It'd be different if it was a different group of people that were voting on a certain issue in a certain way. Then you could see that it's based on principles. This is just voting on block because someone told you how to vote, or you guys got together beforehand and said we're gonna vote this way. It's disappointing. I don't. Is it a hill you're going to die on the agenda? So you're going to stop the agenda from moving forward. You're going to die on that hill and stop the operations, stop the ongoing operations of regional council because the Integrity Commissioner reports weren't on, even though we added something to the agenda that allowed us to address why it wasn't on there. So we actually, as a council, added, and almost all of council added it. So if you look at that voter list, those are the ones who actually just want to get stuff done. That's the list everyone should be paying attention to, and that was the one to add onto the agenda, a report from the solicitor of the region about the Integrity Commissioner process, and that was the one that I voted for, and I said, yes, this should be included on there. Look at that list. Those are the ones who are just trying to get things done. The other sides, they're just playing politics, and it's getting kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a lively meeting anyway, either way, whatever side you're on. Let's get back to St. Catharines for a second. I wanted to ask you about the infilling meeting coming up on Monday. Are you expecting a lot of residents to be there for that?
I think there will be a lot of people. So you have members of the development community who have played a great role in putting this together. You'll have members of neighborhoods who have been affected by infilling, who I think will come out and speak to it. Our public meetings were well attended, and I think what we've come to now is a good middle ground. And it's going to be interesting to hear from both the development community and from the neighborhoods and people from the different neighborhoods to talk about, okay, are they comfortable with where we've gotten to? And I want to remind the public that this was an opportunity for us to hit the pause button on something that was really tearing at the fabric of neighborhoods, but something that's really important to building up community. So we're shifting as a city, we're shifting as a community, and infilling is going to be a part of how we grow moving forward, and it's been a part of how we've grown in the past. And so what that looks like is very important, but making sure all the regulations and tools that are part of the planning process are respective of all parties. So it's balanced. We're trying to get that balance right, and I think with this report, I think we've gotten an opportunity to get that balance right. If we can fine-tune it in some couple of key places, we'll do that. But I got to give credit to the staff. We asked them to come back with as quickly as possible. It's taken them 6 months, 2 public meetings, a very detailed report, and I think that they've done an incredible job. So the development community's been on site and working with us on this. The neighborhood residents who have been affected have been part of this process, and the city staff have been very receptive. So now it's up to council to say, okay, do we have it right? Because as I said, I don't want to come back to this a year from now and go, oh, we got it wrong again. It wasn't exactly correct with the Garden City report, Garden City plan in the first iteration, the first go-round. Now I think we've got an opportunity to get it right, and hopefully this will set the stage for the next 10 to 15 years of development in our community.
Okay, so anybody who wants to come to City Hall and check out that meeting on Monday, or they can watch it
It's a special
live
meeting.
streamed or on Kojiko, it's at 6:30 on Monday in council chambers. We've got a couple of questions. We're kind of running out of time, but
I don't know why.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll go to a question that we got from Facebook from somebody asking why they are not covering the underside of the new Port Pavilion.
Okay, so the bottom of it is covered by, I think, water right now.
Yeah.
But the underside, which they're referring to the ceiling under the roof, and it's a open concept design. So those of you who haven't been able to see it yet, it's the viewpoints are right up to the ceiling. So there's no hard ceiling. It goes right up to the roof rafters, is what I'll say, and purposely built to prevent the birds from actually nesting in there. So the big issue with the previous pavilion, that old dark pavilion that no one really liked, a lot of it was driven by the birds used to go in there and nest, and they would cause a lot of waste that would be on the floor. So we've designed it so that birds actually can't nest in there, which will make it much more family friendly and much more usable for the public.
I'm not too worried about those birds anymore. Still got geese once in a while, but that's another story. And another reader asking about a large bump in the road at Oakdale and Merritt Street that they say was done by city workers installing water and sewer to the new subdivision. It's very bad for her car. Are you going to fix it?
So what will happen is I could take that back to City Hall, and what's probably happened is they probably haven't put the roller over it yet, so that would smoothen it out, and we'll just make sure that's part of the work order, and we'll take care of that. And in questions like that, you can go to Citizens First. So you can go to the city's website, Citizens First. You can either phone or email, and we love it if you took a photo. Like if you're out there and out and about, took a photo of the issue that you see, send it to Citizens First or call Citizens First, and they will deal with this, and they're very effective at getting the job done, so that you don't have to keep following up with ward councilors or the newspaper.
Sure. Sometimes people think that everybody else has already made the phone call and they don't
Right.
want to be a burden, right? But
Right.
So 688-5600.
5600.
Citizens First.
You're good.
Thanks for joining me again. And for those who sent in questions that I haven't gotten to, we will save them for next month when we have chat with the mayor in May. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.